Mahmoud Mick Hawi, born in war-torn Beirut, fled to Sydney at age 5. By 23, he'd seized control of Australia's most feared motorcycle gang through violence and vision. March 22, 2009, Sydney Airport, 50 witnesses. Security cameras rolling. A 21-year-old beaten to death with metal bollards in broad daylight. The brawl that shocked a nation. The aftermath. Murder conviction overturned. 3 years served. Released. Valentine's Day 2018. 6 bullets. A gym parking lot. Australia's most notorious beakie executed in seconds. The killer. Still unknown. That this is the story of power, betrayal, and the violent rise and fall of Mick Hawi, the immigrant's son who became a legend, then a corpse. The immigrant's SON. Picture this: 1980, Beirut, Lebanon. A baby boy is born into a middle-class Muslim family. They call him Mahmoud, but everyone knows him as Mick. By age 5, Lebanon's a war zone. The civil war's destroying everything. So in 1985, his family does what they have to: they pack up and fly to Sydney, Australia, chasing safety and a fresh start. Mick grows up in Sydney with not much money. His dad's a spray painter working long hours. The trial judge later called his childhood uneventful, if Mika, but Mick was different, all muscular, with a presence that said he was headed somewhere. In his mid-teens, he starts dating Carolina Gonzalez. She becomes his anchor. At 18, Mick joins the Comancheros motorcycle club, looking for belonging and respect. The Comancheros had been around since 1966. Founded by Jock Ross, a tough Scottish ex-soldier who ran it like the military. Ross was infamous for the 1984 Milpera massacre, a shootout with the bandidos that killed 7 people, including a 14-year-old girl. He did time, got out, and went right back to running the club. But by the early 2000s, Ross was old and stuck in the past. Young, sharp, and hungry for power, the hostile 2002 22-year-old Mick makes his move. He gathers younger Comancheros and shows up at Ross's house. They beat him badly, strip his patches off, and take his Harley, the ultimate disrespect in biker culture. Total humiliation. Ross had no choice but to accept it. A year later, in 2003, Mick declares himself national president of the Comancheros. The old Comancheros were mostly white bikers who loved their bikes and brotherhood. Mick had a different plan. He recruits heavily from Sydney's Middle Eastern community, bringing in organized crime figures. He transforms the club from a motorcycle gang into a multinational criminal operation: drug smuggling, money laundering, extortion. By the mid-2000s, they're making serious money, running nightclubs, moving drugs internationally. Mick, with his looks and commanding presence, becomes the face of it all. The young kingpin everyone's talking about. But power makes you a target, and Mick was about to learn that the hard way. By 2007, Mick's constantly looking over his shoulder. In November that year, someone tries to kill him. He's driving outside a restaurant in Sydney's inner west when 2 gunmen unload on his car. A bullet gets lodged in the headrest right where his head was seconds before, inches away from death. Pure luck saves him. After that, Mick starts rolling in a bulletproof car. But he's not stupid. He knows it won't save him forever. He's in a game where everyone loses eventually. The problem: Mick's made serious enemies. The Hells Angels, a massive global motorcycle gang, are pushing into Sydney. They want the territory, the drug trade, the respect, and the Comancheros under Mick. They're not backing down or sharing anything. The tension gets suffocating: bombings, shootings, intimidation. It's building towards something catastrophic. Nobody in Sydney can stop it. Then comes March 22, 2009, the day everything changes. 0 hour. The Sydney Airport BRAWL. Mick highs on Qantas. Flight QF430 with several also on board. Derek Wayno, national president of the Hells Angels. These aren't just members, these are the 2 most powerful beakie leaders in Australia. On the same domestic flight. During the flights, Hawi and Wayno exchange words. Hard words, the kind you can't take back. Then they do something that shows how organized these gangs are. They pull out their phones and text their crews. The plane lands around 1:30 p.m. on a Sunday afternoon. Chaos erupts immediately. Over 50 innocent travelers witnessed what happens next. Security cameras catch every second. More than 10 men from both sides start fighting. Not just fists, they grab metal bollards, heavy posts weighing about 17 kilograms each, and swing them like weapons at each other's heads. Anthony Zervas, a 21-year-old linked to the Hells Angels, gets caught in the middle. He falls. Then something horrific happens. The Comancheros beat him with those metal posts. Over and over. They stomp him, punch him, stab him multiple times. Security footage shows what witnesses called extreme sadism. They're gleeful as they beat this young man to death. Anthony Zervas dies right there on the airport floor, in front of 50 people. His brother Peter, also a Hells Angel, watches helplessly. As Mick's leaving the scene, he looks directly at Peter and screams, "You're dead. You're fucking dead. Next time we see you, you're going to have bullet holes through you." That's not a threat. It's a declaration of war. The Australian Federal Police and airport security are overwhelmed. They can't control it. Nobody was ready for gang warfare in an international airport. By the time order's restored, a man's dead. and Australia's in shock. The Sydney airport brawl changed everything. It sparked a national conversation about gang violence. That brutal footage of Anthony Zervas being beaten to death with a metal bollard played on every news channel in Australia. You couldn't look away. You couldn't pretend this wasn't real. Within days, the government creates Strike Force Raptor, a specialized police unit focused entirely on outlaw motorcycle gangs. Where Raptor isn't your typical police unit. These are heavily armed, highly trained officers with one mission: make beaky gangs so uncomfortable operating in public they'll think twice before the next war. For Mick, the immediate consequence is capture. He goes into hiding after the airport incident, becoming Australia's most wanted man. Eventually, his lawyer contacts police, and Mick turns himself in. He's charged with second-degree murder in Anthony Zervas' death. The trial, justice or luck. The trial starts in May 2011. The Crown's case. Even though Mick didn't personally strike the fatal blow, his presence at the airport authorized and approved the actions of the men who killed Zervas. The judge agrees. On November 1, 2011, Hawi is found guilty of second-degree murder and sentenced to a minimum of 21 years in prison. But Mick has money. He has connections. He has a legal team that can fight back. In 2014, his conviction gets overturned on appeal. A new trial is ordered. In a plea deal with the Crown, Mick accepts a guilty plea to manslaughter instead of murder. He's released on September 4, 2014, after serving only about 3 years for Anthony Zervas' death. This enrages people. The Hells Angels are furious. Peter Zervas, the brother of the man beaten to death, has to watch his brother's killer walk free. Mick spends the next few years trying to stay low. He's been given a second chance rare in the criminal underworld. He's married to Carolina in an Islamic ceremony. He has 2 kids. Maybe, just maybe, he can leave this life behind. Freedom. But Mick's life after prison is complicated. Rumors swirl around him. Some claim he's extorting a property developer named Eddie Hawi for money, possibly up to $500,000. Others say he's still running operations with the command. That prison only paused things, didn't stop them. Carolina, his wife, denies the extortion claims. She says Hawi offered the money willingly. But whether it's voluntary or forced, the reality is this: Mick's still in the game, or the game won't let him out. He's living a strange double life. On the surface, he's a guy who hits the gym regularly, stays with his family, keeps a low profile. Underneath, he's still connected to organized crime, still involved in the networks that made him powerful. He's been given a chance to escape, but he never really takes it. Maybe he can't. Maybe the only way out of a world like that is death. Execution Day. It's Valentine's Day, 2018. Mick just finished his workout at Fitness First in Rockdale, a gym in Sydney South. He walks to his black Mercedes SUV, a beautiful high-end vehicle, climbs into the driver's seat. He has no idea what's about to happen. Security camera footage captures the next 30 seconds in brutal detail. A man dressed entirely in black runs toward the car. The gunman gets within arm's length and starts firing. Bang, bang, bang. 6 shots through the window, directly at Mick's head and face. The gunman leans into the vehicle and keeps firing, making absolutely sure this man's never getting up again. Then he runs. A second man appears, and they both flee. A getaway car, a Mercedes station wagon, is found burning on a nearby street. The killers planned this with military precision. They scouted the location, coordinated with the driver, staged a car to burn to destroy evidence. This wasn't a crime of passion. This was a professional execution. By that evening, Mick is dead at St. George Hospital. He's 37 years old. The young kingpin who rose to lead Australia's most feared beaky gang has been taken out in a daylight hit that shocks the entire city. The mystery that never got solved here. Where it gets really interesting. Nobody was ever convicted for Mick's murder. Nobody. Police had suspects. They arrested Yusuf Nazlioglu and Jamal El. The Crown alleged Nazlioglu was the gunman and LJD was the getaway driver. There was circumstantial evidence, DNA from a balaclava found in a vehicle, gunshot residue, CCTV footage. The Crown built what they thought was a solid case based on vehicle movements and forensic evidence. But here's the problem. Nazlioglu and LJD claimed they were once close friends with Mick, and their relationship soured after an incident on a fishing trip where Mick felt Nazlioglu embarrassed him in front of other people. The trial lasted 3 weeks. The jury deliberated for 4 days. On September 9, 2020, they came back with a not guilty verdict for both men. There was reasonable doubt. The evidence, while compelling, wasn't enough to convict beyond a reasonable doubt. Mick's widow, Carolina Gonzalez, had her own theory. She believed a property developer named Eddie Hawi was behind the murder. After Mick's death, she went to Hawi's house and threatened to kill him. When police questioned her later, she claimed she didn't mean it. She was just angry her husband had been killed. But who really ordered the hit? Was it the Hells Angels seeking revenge for Anthony Zervas all those years later? Was it Hawi protecting himself from extortion? Was it someone from within the Commandos itself, a rival faction tired of Mick's leadership? Was it a combination of people? To this day, nobody knows. The murder of Mick Hawi remains officially unsolved. making it one of the most high-profile execution-style killings in modern Australian history where the perpetrator has never faced justice. Here's what's important to understand. Mick Hawi's murder didn't happen in a vacuum. It's part of a much larger story about how organized crime operates in Australia and how it evolved over decades. When the Comancheros were first founded in the 1960s, they were a traditional motorcycle club guys who loved their bikes and had a brotherhood code. By the time Mick took over, they'd become a multinational criminal enterprise. That transition represents something bigger: the way organized crime in Australia evolved to include Middle Eastern crime syndicates, drug trafficking operations, and international money laundering networks. Strikeforce Raptor, created directly because of the Sydney airport brawl, would go on to make over 7,500 arrests and lay 19,000 charges against Beaky gang members and their associates. It became one of the most high-impact police operations in Australian history, and it all started because of what happened that day in March 2009. Legacy without Mick's commanding presence and political intelligence, the gang had a harder time maintaining control over its territory and operations. For his family, the aftermath was devastating. Carolina was left a widow with 2 children, never knowing who killed her husband. The uncertainty, the mystery, that's a special kind of torture that doesn't end with a conviction. And for Australia, Rise and Fall of Mick Hawi captures everything fascinating and terrible about organized crime: the hunger for power, the price of loyalty, the way violence begets more violence, and how one decision to join a gang at 18 can determine your entire life. He came to Australia as a refugee seeking safety. He found the criminal underworld instead. He rose to become one of the most powerful and feared men in it. For a moment, he had it all. Then it was gone. If you want to dive deeper into Australian crime, gangland warfare, or true crime in general, hit subscribe and turn on notifications. We cover the stories that shaped nations and the people who lived them. This is the Rise and Fall of Mick Hawi. Thanks for watching.